Journey to get here tonight, I must say. It's been really challenging, and so I'm very, very thrilled and excited to be able to talk to you tonight and present to you some ideas that have been, percolating and generating inside of me for many, many years, and I actually haven't had the ego strength until now to be able to actually put them out in the world, because every time I want to go and talk about lesbian psychology, which means lesbian eros and lesbian love, which is this incredibly numinous idea, which all of our eros is. Whatever your erotic inclinations are, like when you think about what turns you on, that's like it spins you out into some other kind of state. And the attempt to come into relationship with that, into conscious relationship with that, I find in my experience puts me right up against early childhood trauma, and ways that I've been forced out of my body and out of my mind to not relate to the core of my erotic being. So tonight it's a real challenge for me to try to bring to you these incredibly powerful and numinous, that's a Jungian idea, meaning, what does it mean? The definition, meaning like you're connected with the divine in some way. You have some sense of being connected with something larger than yourself. And so to bring these numinous ideas, and also to be with the really dark and terrible forces in the psyche that have stood in the way, not only for me personally, but in history of us really being able to be fully individuated lesbian human beings. That's just like kind of unheard of, and that's the idea here. So I'm going to try to talk about that, and I'm going to at the same time try to model for you, try to be transparent about how that spins me out. And so I'm going to try to talk about theory, and I'm also going to try to talk about the tools for how to work with this theory, so that it's not just like this sort of abstract kind of theoretical idea, but also how does one work with that. And so you're going to hear me talk about my kids, and what that is it's an idea that it's a tool of Uranian psychoanalysis or Sapphic psychoanalysis for making a relationship with the split up parts of the psyche, for the inferior feeling life, for all of the feelings and aspects of self that have been banished in order to survive in our families of origin and in the society and in the culture. And that's not only terrible negative feelings like envy and rage and hate and hurt and terror, but also in the process of banishing all of that, also are the golden values of individuality and our particular subjectivity, and what my particular call is to be a person in the world that also, in order to survive, also had to get repressed and dissociated and split off. So trying to call up all of that here and manage in some way, like maybe not to lose my mind, or to, at least if I'm losing it, to try to tell you I'm losing my mind now. And so I can feel as I'm talking that I have kids who are pretty hysterical. I've been, when I had this idea with the support of the guys from the Institute for Uranian Psychoanalysis, Contemporary Uranian Psychoanalysis, to try to put these ideas out in the world. And almost simultaneously with deciding to do that, I was diagnosed with this, incurable cancer, and it was really intense that these two things came together. And being a Jungian, I kind of don't look at this as like, oh, that just happened, but actually to look for some kind of meaning in that, both at a personal level and at a transpersonal level, at a level of larger meaning in terms of what kind of forces might be arrayed against being actually occupying this space of consciously, lesbianically engaged with my erotic life as a lesbian, and not trying to put that away or hide that, and be fully that, and be in the pleasure and joy and ecstasy of that, and the horror and the terror and the genocide that's happened over the centuries. Like, how do I be with all of that? And now I can feel like, what was I talking about? I was talking about something. And so I try, this is what happens. As I try to evoke connection with this powerful force, then in comes attacks in the psyche to kind of separate me from my capacity to hold that space and represent it. So I'm going to just keep kind of trying to talk about that as that's going on.
Right on.
Yeah.
Courageous. Okay, anyway.
So I was, yeah. So I feel like, one of the things, I'm a thinking type, that's a Jungian idea. I navigated the world by thinking, not by feeling. And with the cancer diagnosis, like, I've been forced totally out of my thinking and completely into my body and my feeling. Just completely and totally, utterly, it's all about my body and my feeling. And I've been working on this material for years and years and years in my inner life, but I actually haven't had a lot of time to think about what am I going to say, just in this moment. I've been like engaged in, how do I feed myself and how do I heal myself and attending to the body, and that's like completely and utterly new for me. So I can feel like that there's an inner attack that wants to say, you don't know what the hell you're talking about because you're not thinking. But I'm going to try to be with my feeling. Let's see. Okay. So I want to try to share with you. So I want to try to share with you these ideas that, to me, are incredibly beautiful. They're just these beautiful ideas, and I want to try to do them justice here tonight, if I possibly can. So the ideas about sapphic psychoanalysis. So first of all, there's this idea of the theory of sapphic psychoanalysis, and so I want to talk about the theory in two ways. One, I want to talk about the theory of, from a Freudian kind of perspective and object relations, and then I want to talk about it from a Jungian perspective. Let's see. So, how am I going to do this? And I want to talk about Inanna and Enheduanna, because that's the title of the talk. Okay. I better talk about them. That's what I was just remembering. Okay. So singing the heavenly muse of lesbian individuation. So individuation is this Jungian idea that says that the purpose of being human and cultivating a relationship with the psyche is to become whole, basically, is to become whole and have to be as much of oneself as we can possibly be. And and what does it mean to be a fully lesbian, embodied lesbian individual? Like, we don't know, right? How can we know that? We live in the most profoundly hetero-dominated society, culture for, thousands of years now. All assumptions are about heterosexuality, heterocentrism, that if you're a woman, you're going to have babies, and you're going to operate a family, and you're going to do these things. And if you're born as a lesbian, then that's not your call, basically. That's not the call that happens when you're born lesbian. Because when two women get together, you got to do some stuff to try to actually have a little baby. It doesn't really, that's not what we do. But we do something else. And that's really, really needed in the world today. Really desperately needed, what we do. Desperately needed, because we're way, way over in the one-sidedness of heterocentricity. And the idea of the feminine, rapturously and ecstatically in love with the feminine, is something that is really something unseen and unheard of right now. Whatever kind of woman you are in terms of your eros. And lesbians, we could say, symbolize or embody the most intense form of the feminine, erotically engaged, and in love with, and in romance with the feminine. And to conjure that and bring that alive into the world, really, because the earth is feminine, and the body is feminine, and all of these things are toxic, and right now have been toxified and polluted. We live in this way where we don't know how to be with the beauty of that. So, lesbian individuation. Now, how do we talk about it? How do we talk about it and feel our way into what is lesbian individuation when, like if you turn on the TV or you go out in the world or you look at billboards, you just don't see yourself in it. It's like, how are we supposed to figure this out? There's a couple of ideas here that are tools of sapphic psychoanalysis that I want to offer up here. And one is this idea of the kids and going inward. And this is like not only a psychoanalytic tradition, like Freud developed his theory and Jung developed his theory through actually a confrontation with each of them with their own unconscious. They did see clients and everything, but the theory actually came from feeling into their own experience. And so that's valid. In the world of science and objectivity, it's like that's not valid, but that's valid in the world of psychology and psychoanalysis. And so every one of us can do that. And how do we do that? How do we make that relationship? And the other, so that's this idea about the kids, and I'll talk about that more. But the other idea is what I'm talking about, princely goddess Inanna initiates her devoted priestess bride, how ancient lesbian wisdom traditions can inspire a new, vulvically vivifying lesbian-centered myth of meaning for all women. Okay. But I had to fight for vulvically vivifying. I did. I'm like, you guys write phallos. You have phallos. Why can't I write vulvically vivifying? It's like, oh my God, that's an intense idea. Never mind her feels. So, what's going to come alive if the vulva is vivified? Like, what the hell? What's going to happen in the world? That's going to be so intense. So, myth of meaning. In other words, what's the importance for psychotherapy and clinical work of having a myth of meaning? What's the importance for each of us as individuals? The myth of meaning now that most gay people have and lesbians have, it's like something terrible happened to me. You know, how did this happen to me? I don't belong, I'm an outcast. You know, how do I make sense of having been, you know, thrown out of society and thrown out of my family of origin? How do I make sense of that?